My name is Marina Calderon, and silence was the only language that kept peace in my family. When I spoke, my father's gaze sharpened like a blade finding bone, and my mother's hands began to shake as if my words carried weight she couldn't hold. So I learned early how to disappear inside myself. I swallowed questions. I folded apologies around my tongue before anyone asked for them. I kept shrinking, waiting for a version of love that didn't come with conditions. It never came. And by the time I finally admitted that truth, something inside me had already cracked clean through. So when Rafael Calderon stood in the San Diego County Courthouse and called me a disgrace, I didn't defend myself. I didn't rush to explain. I didn't raise my voice. I watched him instead, steady as stone, and let the truth stand where my voice used to live. The courtroom smelled of old wood and dust, the kind that settles into places where people come to lose things. The benches were packed. Neighbors who remembered my mother's smile. Reporters who smelled a family collapse. Strangers hungry for a clean villain. My father's fingers trembled on the rail as he spoke, anger barely keeping pace with fear. She manipulated her mother, he said, tricked her into changing the will. I stood in a plain black suit, hands clasped in front of me. The only color I wore was a small gold anchor pinned to my collar. It caught a thin blade of sunlight from the high window, flashed once, then dulled again. I didn't move. Judge Marisol Kent held my father in her gaze. When she spoke, her voice was quiet, but it shut the room like a door closing on a storm. Sir, she said, you really don't know, do you? Confusion pinched my father's face. The court clerk shifted papers. Someone coughed and stopped halfway through. Nobody else breathed. I had heard that kind of power before, living for years inside my mother's silence after her funeral. Back in our peeling house on I Avenue, I stood alone in the living room, where her altar still smelled faintly of candles and dried flowers. I opened the stuck drawer beneath it, the one she never let anyone touch, and found an envelope addressed in careful ink. For Marina. Inside, a single sheet. If your father turns on you, remember this. Truth doesn't ask for permission. That night, my brother Diego texted me. Dad hired Gideon Salazar. Motion filed to strip your license. I set the phone down. I touched the anchor at my collar, and I stopped being silent. Salazar arrived like a man reclaiming territory he thought was still his. Tailored suit, easy smile, eyes that didn't blink when they lied. He leaned close to my father, murmuring as if feeding him lines, reminding him how to stand tall and angry. When Judge Kent called the matter, Salazar rose smoothly. This court is here, he said, because Lieutenant Commander Marina Calderon abused her authority to coerce her dying mother into rewriting her will. He said my rank like it was poison. The bailiff played his exhibit, a phone recording. My voice, threaded with hospital static. I'll take care of it. My mother's voice followed, thin and exhausted. I'm tired, Marina. The gallery stirred. Pity, judgment, the quick pleasure of strangers who think they understand pain because they've watched it once. My father stared as if the audio proved I had been born wrong. I kept my hands folded, the anchor pressed cool against my throat. I knew that recording. It came from restricted logs at Balboa Naval Medical Center, sealed under privacy law. Salazar didn't stumble onto it. He broke into it. Judge Kent tapped the gavel once. Order. Her eyes shifted to me. Miss Calderon, do you wish to respond? I stood. My mouth tasted like pennies. Not yet, Your Honor, I said. The truth doesn't need my panic. Salazar's smile twitched, then reset. At the close of the session, Judge Kent spoke again. Submit your service file for verification. Full. The word landed heavy. Commendations, investigations, deployments, and the case that had ended Gideon Salazar's career years ago. In the corridor, my father blocked my path, breath sour with old anger. You think medals make you better than blood? No, I said. They remind me I survived it. That night, Naval Command warned me my clearance could expose classified work if released. I typed back 2 words: approve release, and waited for morning. At dawn, a courier handed me a sealed folder. Inside was my service record, and beneath it, the disciplinary file on Gideon Salazar, signed years earlier by Judge Marisol Kent. herself. I slid my mother's letter between the pages and drove back to court. The benches were full again. Salazar stood, voice polished. She profited from her mother's death. Judge Kent cut him off. Whose credentials accessed Balboa's restricted call archive on May 14th? He hesitated. The clerk read the audit entry aloud. Gideon Salazar. The room emptied of sound. My father's jaw went slack. Judge Kent's gaze never left Salazar. You were not given that recording, she said. You stole it. Salazar tried to smile. It broke. I rose. My mother, Elena Calderon, changed her will with witnesses and counsel. She wrote this after. I read the line I had carried like a stone. Truth doesn't ask for permission. Then the faint line beneath it. The one that mattered most. He will use grief as a leash. Cut it. I handed up the notarized will certificate and the hospice nurse's statement. Ink. Dates. Solid things. My father looked from the documents to Salazar. You told me she bullied her, he whispered. Salazar said nothing. That was answer enough. Judge Kent's voice turned to steel. Motion to disqualify denied. Petition dismissed with prejudice. Mr. Salazar is referred to the bar. The gavel snapped. Final as a door latched in the corridor, my father stopped me. He looked smaller without his fury. He held out a box. Inside rested my mother's wedding ring. She wanted you to have it, he said. I placed the anchor pin beside the ring and felt a silence that didn't cage me. It opened.